I am here with Sandi Tan, who has two novels, The Black Isle and Lurkers, and of course is the director of Shirkers, which you won a directing award at Sundance for.
Yeah.
And of course, it is on Netflix, released in 2018.
Yeah, I hope they don't take it off. I
That's
mean, you never
still
know
there.
now. It's a Netflix original film, and yet, you never know.
So I usually like ask why you chose the topic, but I think I coaxed you into this. So the topic is Shirkers. But we'll see what direction we take this in because this could go in many ways. So I'm going to set a 20-minute timer. Um, and so I guess instead of asking you why you chose Shirkers, well, maybe I can ask like I kept trying to run ideas by you because I just really wanted you on here because a lot of people love Shirkers when I had brought it up on Substack.
Oh, that's
It
nice.
it's really inspired a lot of people. Yeah. So why did you accept that this was the topic you'd be willing to talk about?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I was just trying to get rid of you.
Thanks.
No, I
Fair
just
enough. Fair
it
enough.
was like, okay, it was the only one that I felt qualified to talk about because there were so many things I might be obsessed with that I'm not ready to talk about or able to talk about. So, Sugars was a safe one.
Well, I guess I'll start with you mentioned that you didn't think Shirkers that Netflix would be unlikely to buy Shirkers today.
Yeah, it was an unlikely film even then, but I yeah, no, I really don't know what Netflix is like now. I mean, I think most of the interesting films of a few years ago, I don't know if they would be made in the current climate today. I don't know. I mean, I just this is what I've been told by many people who are in the industry who are trying to do interesting stuff or whatever and are having trouble. And I keep hearing that, oh yeah, Netflix wouldn't buy it today. I don't know. I don't know that for a fact, but I know that the regime change has been real.
Yeah.
It's a different set of people with maybe different sets of tastes, but I don't know. Again, I'm just speculating, and also being, maybe modest and thinking that I may not get so lucky if I were trying to make that film and sell it like today or.
I mean, I think back to when I saw it, and I think it was a like in 2018. I feel like personally, but I think I'm starting to realize a lot of people felt similarly and still do. But 2018 was a time where like streaming had really conquered uh, the industry. Um, I think subtly we kind of all felt like quality was on the decline. Um, and I remember seeing Shirkers and like as this like love letter to film as somebody who also went through a lot of what you went through and falling in love with film, and kind of at the time had kind of like fallen away from that because I didn't think it was a realistic path anymore. And it was such a breath of fresh air to see that film. And
Yeah, I had very supportive execs there. They were, very, very good execs, and also they were film lovers. I'm not sure well, they're no longer there. None of my three EPs from Netflix are still existing at Netflix. And I'm not sure what, people out there, I mean, people there are like anymore. Can you just pause a second?
yes,
Can you just be quiet, please? I'm just trying to concentrate. Um, anyway,
you're good. I can't hear anything on my end
okay.
for what it's
All
worth.
right. Anyway, yeah. So that's what it was.
Um, yeah, but I haven't really. I think since then there was like hope that there would be more films like Shirkers, and I personally haven't seen a lot. Um, it it really is like this diamond in the rough of films in this in the last 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, it's the nice thing about it, but it's also its curse, because it was a personal story. There's
Yeah,
no way to replicate this kind of experience
right.
for most people. I mean, um, they're really interesting, eccentric, singular projects that have been out there. I mean, I really liked Telemarketers, this
I
documentary.
saw that. Yeah,
Um, yeah, on HBO, and a lot of, similar personal things that are singular
yeah.
stories because they're personal, which is also its curse. And yeah,
Well, I mean, that might maybe we should like talk about Shirkers itself. Like it is such. I mean, it is like a once in a life type of film. I guess singular is the right word. It's such a fascinating story, and just the fact that like it was this film that was never finished, and then you finished it in such a and made it such a different film than whatever.
Yeah, and I think it lives its best life in this form.
Yeah.
Because I get letters all the time from people, even now, like say, would you, consider, finishing using the original footage to piece it together and try
Mhm.
to release the original film, maybe with dub dialogue. And I'm happy to volunteer. Like I have an army of volunteers. And I keep saying, actually, I don't think it's gonna it actually is living its best life in this form. I don't think it's going to cut together. I don't think it's going to be any good. This is like a movie thought up by teenagers like 30 years ago. We didn't know what we were doing. We were just having some fun.
Yeah.
And I think it lives its best life now. I don't think it would cut together.
I would agree, and I think anyone who's like fallen in love with film as a teenager and made uh tried making films at that time, it's very rare that you get to revisit that, uh sort of present it in a way once you've had reflection, and yeah, it's truly a unique film. Uh,
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, if we had done it then, I just feel like we would have been laughed out of town. I keep saying to everyone, like, we were these three kids, I mean, female kids,
yeah.
trying to make a movie and in a town that just didn't know what independent film was or even what film was. And, we wouldn't have been received very well, I don't think.
Um, so there are a lot of people. I mean, you've talked about Shirkers wannabes. Uh, I don't know if what you're referring to exactly, but um,
Yeah, I wouldn't say, yeah, wannabes really. Maybe that's a bad word. But people trying to do an interesting film, maybe that might be slightly personal and that may seem very hard to do because frankly was a solo producer on this film for a very long time before others decided to come in because nobody could see what it was. Nobody could understand what I was trying to do.
yeah,
And I was the only person who knew how to tell the story. So it was a really hard film to get financed. It's a really hard film to get, other stakeholders on.
yeah,
Sundance Institute was one of the first people and Cinereach as well, and remain the only people, I guess, who were part of this process. But it was very, very hard. And they didn't really commit a huge amount because I didn't never seemed like a sure thing to anyone
yeah.
because it was basically all in my head when we began. And by the time I was close to the finish, then it seemed like everybody, wanted in and they could see what it was. But initially, it was a really hard thing. And I keep trying to tell everyone that it is a really hard road. If you're trying to replicate the process, you will have to endure the fact that you're going to be alone for a very long time and may not find your collaborators, may not find your funders, because nobody really, you know, if you had as little, um, like we had very little footage of the villain, central villain, George
Yeah.
Cardona. I mean, like slowed down footage wise. We had Mac, if
One
we
of the
piece together every bit of footage, sound, and image of him, it was 30 seconds. That's all we
uh,
had. And yet he seems like a real villain of the piece because we use all kinds of other tactics to
yeah,
extend his presence, whether it's the use of static, the sound of static, the visuals of static, and associated him with the sound and other sounds that he became very present in the film. But in fact, of actual presence, we had very little of him. He refused to be photographed. He
Hmm.
was, he it was everything we got of him, we got on the sly because he's such an elusive figure.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's a very hard thing to convince collaborators and funders and producers that you had something going if there's very little to show initially, because the rest of it's going to be the magic of the movies. If you're a filmmaker and you love film, this is a project that allows you to use everything at your disposal as a filmmaker to kind of bring to life.
Yeah.
It was very freeing for me because I was able to, I didn't have a lot of stakeholders. I didn't have a lot of people watching over me and telling me what to do. So I basically just used whatever I could to tell the story. And it turned out to be a very liberating experience.
Hmm.
And it turned out well for me when Netflix did not ask for a single change. Which, and
Fantastic.
they just changed a little bit of the credits by adding a few more names and giving me a solo producing card, which I probably deserved because I produced it myself for a long, long, long time. And so it's that kind of thing where it actually paid off. I'm saying that I'm not sure people would have that kind of freedom today, which is when, I don't know, but I was very lucky.
Yeah. And to George Cardona.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like such, that's amazing that what little footage you had. I mean, the character is still haunting to me. Uh, it's just probably one of the great film villains and just immersed, elusive characters of
Yeah.
I've
And
ever seen
and in
on
fact,
film, period.
and there's so much more to him that he threatened to hijack the film as I was making it. Like there were like weird literal like weird hijackings of the would go out or static would like funny things and sound would funny sounds would be heard as we're like trying to edit this film, me and my editor Lucas. But also in other ways, like just his narrative was so strong. His story was so seductive and so strong that
Yeah.
he threatened to kind of snatch the narrative away from me, my story, uh, which I was reluctant to tell in the first place. And because like there's so much about him that I actually put in the film and then I had to take out because it was going to derail the whole thing. One of the strands that I had to take out was that he was pals with David Duke
Oh my
of
goodness.
the
Wow.
KKK in high
Oh wow.
school. And in fact, had shot his first campaign video, and that kind of stuff. And they both went to JFK High together. We actually went and looked we went and looked at JFK High. In fact, it's also vacant land, like just like the mother's house. It was also
Yeah.
completely flattened by Katrina. So that was another rabbit hole. There was so many, like so
Wow.
many rabbit holes you could go into. And then there was another thing. Which was that, he would always leave clues for us to discover, like breadcrumbs, to know that he was not a good person, not a truthful person. So the
Yeah.
first film that we made in that film class, the first exercise we did together before shooting Shirkers, was a short film called I Have Never Told the Truth.
Huh.
And he just told it to us. I mean, that was, and we made this silly little short film as an exercise in working 16 millimeter film. And it was a silly thing, but the title was there. And he gave that title to the film and it was all there. So there were so many clues we just didn't read.
Yeah. Well, you presented it very well. The just the narration of what I think when he touches your belly or there was something like that. That it's like that's the moment that really kind of everything gets really dark. Yeah.
Yeah.
But uh, I'm as my trying to think how to direct this conversation. Because I really, I mean, I think I'm ultimately getting to like, are you working on another film and what comes next? And but we still have 6 minutes, so um, we've if we've talked a little bit through email about you've agreed with me that you said people want community, though not necessarily
Yeah.
on a large scale. Um, Removing the singular and personal aspect of shirkers. Uh, do you see these types of films having some sort of renaissance or new avenues of
Oh, what do you mean, personal films of?
um maybe the right word is art house?
Oh, I hope so. I mean, but whether they make money is a different issue. But hopefully there are all these, there are all these little festivals, and even in LA, which is a great place for watching movies now. I mean, there's all these, little venues or curators of film, like, Mezzanine is one, Hollywood Entertainment. I mean, they pick out all these weird, films that may not have a huge audience, but they have a very devoted, smaller, devoted audience who come back again and again and fill up these halls like on weeknights,
Yeah,
whether it's the American Cinematheque or 2220 Arts on Beverly, which is a great venue, by the way. And they fill up, with non-hipsters sometimes and hipsters, but young audiences who are really greedy for a live experience, because
yeah,
they grew up, spending so much of their lives on their phones.
yeah,
And to them, I think it's probably a thrilling thing to be experiencing movies live, and they may be old movies or new movies or movies that don't really have distribution otherwise.
yeah,
And I find that really encouraging. And maybe I think that's happening in New York too, and maybe other cities. And if one is able to stream and show movies on a micro cinema screen, like, and I think they do that sometimes at Vidiots as well, and then they have a smaller screen at the Vista as well. And there are venues for this. So if people wanted to show little films, they could, and they could gather like 30 people, whatever.
yeah,
The only problem is whether it's economically feasible, and that's a whole other conversation. I think people probably have gone back to the model of going into this business only if you can afford it. Maybe if you have a day job, if you're trying to do something interesting. If you're trying to do something less interesting, you're fine. You've always been fine, but I
yeah.
think if
Even
you're
more
trying
so
to do
now.
something more difficult,
Right.
um, it's not the easiest time. But the thing is, the audience will love you, and maybe if your thing exists forever, maybe they'll find you in 5 years or 10 years, you
Yeah.
know.
And I think LA and New York, I mean, they're it's always gonna have that scene. But I do think we're in a moment where like, you know, the culture is really changing in small and mid-sized cities. And I think if you know those sorts of venues were put into place, we could start to see something that is more feasible for filmmakers where they could actually make their money back and have a much bigger audience.
Well, yeah, if you made the movie for $12, you could maybe make
Right.
it back. But it's I don't know. I mean, it's just the money issue is so difficult because it's
Yeah.
so, I mean, if you want to pay your friends who are making the film with you, it's going to be more difficult,
Yeah.
yeah, like people are going back to the model of doing things for free or doing things for, $1,000 or, like really, really, really micro movies with their friends, which is great. But there's so many limitations to that as well.
Yeah. So I have to ask you, we're at 2 minutes.
Okay.
It's still connected to Shirkers is the topic in my mind. But you know, what are you working on? Are you going to make another film?
Yeah, I am always trying to make films. I'm, I've been working on the adaptation of The Idiot that I'm going to direct.
I did read
So
about
The Idiot, not Dostoevsky, but
that. Right.
Elif Batuman's Idiot.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully that will happen sometime soon. And
Which is also a highly personal.
yeah, I mean, I got that because I figured execs don't have much imagination, and it's the one that they could imagine me making a leap to and doing, and so. But I also really think it's so funny and really relevant because it's about the dawn of the internet age. It's set in 1985, and it's when this Harvard freshman girl um kind of gets a crush on this guy who she basically knows best through the internet, which is a very new format at that time, and it's basically the early days of the mess that we've gotten into, but she's getting into a kind of a mess then also already by mistaking signals and all this kind of stuff. So that's something I'm working on and various other things that, as well.
Are you still writing prose or are you putting this
Um,
down on?
yeah, jot things down. I wish there are things I keep starting and stopping and things I should do. And then sometimes I'm like, yes, but do I want to spend all that time with those horrible people in my head? And then because I tend to like horrible people in my head, but maybe I should keep them there.
You depict them well. That is
Yeah,
artsy.
well, thank you.
Um, I think I speak on behalf of the entire, at least non-D film community. We want you to make another film. So
Well, yeah, I mean, so do I. It's difficult. So I produce and do stuff on TV and stuff in between, but
anything,
not it's not like a film yet. So I mean, until well, hopefully I get to do this, The Idiot. So we'll see.
yeah. Well, I will certainly be excited to see that. I'm sure many others
Yeah.
will. Um, I know that we're going to try to do a screening of Shirkers. So if it hasn't happened yet when people are watching this, I will hopefully be able to announce that. Um, and I think that's our time. Thank you so much, Sandy.
Okay, great. And if you could edit out me shouting, that would be great.
I'll try. I very much like the like I don't think it was as I'll run it by you. I'll run it by
No,
you.
no, no, don't. I
All right.
don't like looking at this stuff.
This was great. Thank you so much. I really
Thank
appreciate you
you.
doing this.